Hey everyone, welcome back to part two with Sven Axelrad. Yesterday we spoke a lot about the practicality of writing, the mechanics of publishing, and we chatted a lot about like how both of us write and our experiences that we've had. And we've saved the best for last, the book. Um, Today we're going to go into this really, really fascinating, fun, darkly humorous journey of this book. We're going to just touch on some key points. There are spoilers. But yeah, I'm really excited about this actually. Welcome, Sven. Thanks so much for coming back again.
No, of course, yeah. It's fun to
Mm,
chat. Yeah.
yeah, it is. It is. I'd rather be doing this than any other job, to be honest.
Well, yeah, the other job for me is accounting, so definitely, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, you were just saying like how it's difficult to change between the accounting side of you and the
Yeah.
creative side of you, and it's amazing that you have both of those sides because that's kind of rare. Like I know people who are accountants and they just don't understand creativity at all. So
Yeah.
maybe
Well, I mean, creative accounting is kind of a crime, right? So you don't want to mix the two together too much. But
right.
I mean, honestly, Tori, I used to think of them as like warring sides of my personality, that I was always, because both of them are real. It's not like I'm a creative who has to do a job. Like I do actually have a side of my mind that is very structured and organized and enjoys
Yeah.
accounting.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
um, it was almost like a recipe for depression for years because they always seemed to
Mm.
be like at each other.
Mm.
When I was working at my normal job, it
Yeah.
felt so boring and not creative enough. When I was at home doing creative stuff, it didn't feel structured enough. Um,
Yeah.
and actually, only over
Totally.
the last couple of years, I've figured out how to harness both of them.
I love
And
that. Mm.
yeah, it's been a huge step forward for me. It's like I'm a lot
Yeah.
happier. Honestly, if you met me 5 years ago, you would notice a change in me over the last 5 years.
Wow, that's so
Just much
amazing.
happier. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That is so great. Ah, that's so amazing. And I totally agree with you. There's no like um creativity without a bit of structure.
yeah.
You sort of feel
Especially
like you're
writing is
flying.
such a discipline. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
just
What were
saying,
you gonna
yeah.
say?
No, just saying, especially writing, it's such an art that's weighted towards discipline because you've got to get up
Yeah,
and get at it.
definitely. And I mean, before I actually knew that there were various techniques. I felt like I had no idea what I was doing and like I was flying blind, like through the dark. Like um
Yeah.
it's great to have some structure. Okay, so let's get into actually the book. Okay, so
Fuck yeah.
so this book is like absolutely amazing. Like one of my favorite parts in the beginning is you describe the life of the young girl Novo and her dad Alto, and I'm just so like deeply touched because it's so sweet and gentle and shows how much he cares about her, and those freaking pigeon characters were absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
So like I really thought it was interesting how you mentioned how the pigeons were so well looked after that they kind of organized themselves into like kind of upper and lower echelons of
Like
pigeon
caste hierarchy.
society.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a whole hierarchy thing. And sort of fought over like where the best spots were in the rafters to like, you know,
Yeah.
establish themselves as like the pigeon bosses or whatever. Like that was wonderful. That sort of like really brought to mind Gabriel Garcia Marquez, like describing the nature of living things. Um,
Yeah.
and it was really in contrast to the people who were actually about to die. But anyway, maybe tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. I think, I mean, first of all, talking about pigeons when you live in Durban is like par for the course. I used to live in a bachelor flat on the top of Windermere Centre. Um,
Oh.
and so it was basically like living in a cupboard with a beautiful view
Mm.
over the
Hmm.
stadium and the ocean. But like
Yeah.
my whole windowsill, every morning you'd wake up and open the curtains and there'd just be like a ragtag crew of pigeons
Yeah.
Most of them missing eyes and half their beaks and feet, and like, but 100% fine and doing their thing. Um, so pigeons and Durban are sort of go together,
Yeah.
one and the same. Um, but then looking at them, I suppose I think every opportunity in this book is I wanted to talk about life, what it's like being alive.
Yeah.
But that's
Mhm.
such a vast topic, and I mean, how do you even approach it? So every opportunity I got, so okay, I probably randomly chose that he was a pigeoneer as a profession, but then now that that's the case, we can now look at life with the pigeons, like the way that they've
Yeah.
organized themselves into hierarchies, and they're the
Yeah.
same as us. They're also confused and trying to figure out what the best way to live is, and making tons of mistakes while they're at it.
I love that. That was, and the
Mm,
way that they were sort of trying to clean up and do the right thing, because people were
yeah,
getting kind of annoyed with them in the town. And it was
yeah,
like, oh dear, what's going to happen with the pigeons? And then I mean, it kind of really, it really was very like a Durban sort of thing. I got the vibe that, people are sensing the breakdown of society every day. And, but it still
yeah.
kind of works. Like, it's kind of like
And
pigeons with their beaks ripped off and feet missing. And,
still
they
making their way.
still
Yeah,
keep going.
yeah. And I mean, that is Durban for you, right? Like Durban,
Yeah.
especially over the last couple of years, is it's
Yeah.
it's still a wonderful place, but it's looking a bit shabby around the edges, and it's struggling a bit,
Mm.
and like, um,
But it still manages. It like,
and the
it
pigeons is a great way
blooms.
to talk about the municipality as well in Vivo, which is a very Durban thing as well, that the
Yeah.
municipality is maybe not
There's
doing,
like one person working
yeah,
there.
it's one, and he's trying his best too, but the tide is just too much, and like, um, you
Yeah.
know, so that whole pigeon section is a great way to talk about
Yeah.
the town itself, the
Yeah.
heart of the town.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the symbolism as well.
Mm.
Um, so there was a lot of dark humor. Like it was, and that's why I mean it was so Durban because everyone that we know will laugh about this because it's kind of the thing that is becomes us, right? Like this laughing about these really messed up situations
I mean, what's the
because
other choice, right? Like,
it's
if you don't want
probably
to laugh about it,
happening.
then you got to
Yeah,
cry about it.
exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. And so like there's I thought that the phone booth was quite symbolic, of like the dilapidation and the falling apart. But in it, people having these epiphanies, maybe talk a little bit about Geronimo having this epiphany,
Well,
or
I
like whatever
mean,
you want to talk about the phone booth.
yeah, let's mention the phone booth, I suppose. When you asked me this yesterday, I was thinking, I thought about it. So another sort of confession, I suppose, is that I don't often plan the stuff up front. So like,
Yeah.
um, I'm sort of looking back at what I made and figuring it out as well, sort of figuring
Mhm.
myself out. But I think with the phone booth, I was laughing about it last night because you were telling me about dating apps, and I was thinking the phone booth in a weird way is kind of like an analog dating app for Vivo.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone's meeting there to have sex basically, but um,
Yeah.
it's more than that. It's quite like graphic, I suppose, and a bit
Yeah.
carnal, but like everyone's meeting there to have sex, but more than that, they're also meeting there to have a connection with someone. And yes, there's bodily fluids and dirty things, but there's also like, um, loneliness and hope and all the beautiful
Humanity.
sort of, yeah, the higher sentiments of humanity,
Yeah.
bit of faith,
Yeah.
bit of hope, and it's all
Yeah.
happening inside this one tiny little square box in the middle of the town. And
That's so funny.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it makes it easy to look at it, right? Because again, like I want to talk about
Yeah.
life, or I want to talk about sex because it's a big part of life. And
Yeah.
then, but how do you talk about such a massive topic? And again, my answer was do a little microcosm and turn this tiny little phone booth, and then you can actually look through the window and watch it happen, which is what
Actually
Geronimo is
makes
doing from the bushes. Yeah,
yeah, it makes total sense actually
yeah,
because human beings are human beings whatever they're doing, you know. And I guess in a way it's like everybody's redeemable.
Yes,
Like nobody's
I love
totally
that.
beyond reproach, right? It's like
Yeah,
everybody has some redeeming thing that can happen to them, a miracle in the worst circumstance. Like
yes.
yeah,
I really
yeah,
wanted. I love that sentiment, Tori. Like I really wanted to show that like there's
yeah.
almost no. Okay, there are villains in the world, but there in story, I didn't want that. I wanted it to be like everyone's forgivable. They just need a bit of context, and like
Mm,
if you even the worst of us at some point we're young and hopeful and innocent, and if you explain enough of that, sort of with understanding comes forgiveness. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
And I think all of us also have been in a place where we've been um just as blind as that Geronimo guy, even though he
Yeah.
was, you know, he had no idea that he was being so creepy.
Yeah.
And then he has this huge epiphany that like, wow, he's being a total creep, which is amazing. I really hope that like creeps out there, it does
Have
happen
their
to them.
epiphany.
I really hope
Yeah.
so. But you know, yeah, like, and but it's also cool that you explain it in the way that he has this epiphany that it was to do with his mother and abandonment issues.
Yeah.
And probably that hits the nail on the head with a lot of people exactly like that. And if they had to read the book, maybe it'll help them. Maybe they'll be like, oh my god, this book has changed my life. Like
I mean, yeah, I do get messages from people that have read the book.
yeah,
People telling me. So the sweetest one, I got one the other day. A lady
yeah,
messaged me and told me that someone in her family had died recently,
shame.
and reading the book was the first time she had laughed since that whole thing had happened, and helped her like process death a little bit better, which is so
Yeah.
sweet. But
Mm.
I have not yet received anyone who masturbates too much and then told me they read the book and they stopped. You know what I mean? We haven't got there yet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting because yeah, people, as you say, like people don't really talk about that, but it's probably one of the most like necessary things to talk about, that part of humanity, you know, like
Hmm.
yeah, and
It's a very real part of
how
us. Yeah.
it's real. Yeah, like yeah. Um, so yeah, that's interesting. And then also, so this is, I wrote a list of things that are symbolic, which I find
Mm.
interesting because your book was written quite like, you just wrote it right without really thinking too much about, okay, now I'm going to add the symbolism of this in here, you know.
Yeah,
You
not
didn't
at
really
all. Yeah.
think about it, which is so cool.
Mm.
Like it just shows though that like your mind is somehow like switched on to that kind of thing,
Yeah.
even
Well, we all have strengths, right? Like
subconsciously.
as writers, and I think plot is a weakness of mine. So I know I can't map it out. If I map it out, it becomes extremely boring to me. But if I sort of
Mm.
leave it open, then my mind can go wherever it wants to go.
Wow.
And then this is where
Yeah.
it wanted to go, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a lovely, it's, that's the thing I do well. So I've learned to chase the thing I do well, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Exactly. It's also economical to do that, especially when you're pressed for time. Um, and you're writing in the early hours of the morning and late at
mm,
night, and you have to work with like what's the best way I can do this, and like instead of like, you know, I don't think I'm well, I hope I can write an epic one day, but I know that wouldn't be the easiest thing. Like it wouldn't like I it might take me like the rest of my life to do that. I could do it, but probably a better thing to do would be practicing the stuff that actually comes naturally and honing the skills that are like
yeah.
that
I mean,
are
yeah.
like,
But,
I've going more for script writing lately than focusing on an epic that I feel utterly overwhelmed by, that I just don't have the time to do. I just don't
yeah.
have the time.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's easier
But
to
that's
focus on.
us. I mean, we spoke about it a little bit yesterday, but it's
Mm.
probably, it's so daunting to think about it. If, say, just a novel in itself is daunting, but
Mm.
um, just starting something is not that daunting, like you do have the time to do a little bit, and
Yeah, you
epic
can.
is probably just an accumulation of lots of little bits.
Lots of little
um
bits. I
it's
shouldn't give
the
it up because I think it's a cool idea.
No, Yeah, and you shouldn't. And that's maybe like if you are going to plan it, and because
Mm.
planning is awesome. I mean, if I could plan, I would. I just can't do it. Um, but if you can plan it like an overarching story, you could also break it up into little bite-sized pieces
Yeah, into
and then
doable
just tackle
parts.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to
So
have another show to talk about that.
yeah.
Anyway, this is about your book.
Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the next symbol that I wrote down, the graveyard, right? I think that also is something interesting. Maybe tell me, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, what did you say when you asked me about the graveyard? Because I think you said it better than I could.
Okay, well, I wrote
Yeah.
down so the graveyard and the name of the book, right? I think it works so well together because imagine finding buried treasure in a graveyard. And what would that treasure be? It would actually be like learning something about life, in a place where everybody's
Yeah.
dead. Like, and who would have thunk, Um,
Yeah. So
and
like now that you're
mm,
saying it like that, it is like
mm,
that. I suppose the whole reason I wrote this was it's sort of like a layman's philosophical study of identity. Like who are
yeah,
we without our names? That's the main thing. So all
yeah,
the ghosts don't have their names anymore and they're confused.
mm,
Um, and it's what we were saying about being out of context. It's like now I don't know where you came from. I don't know your parents. I don't know your heritage. I don't know what you do for a living.
mm.
Um, so now we meet each other on extremely equal footing,
Oh gosh,
which
that's
we're not
exactly
used
like
to.
Durban. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
So imagine, um, yeah, as South Africans, we do that a lot, right? So if I
Mm,
meet you for the first time, I'm going to say, "Hey, I'm Sven. I do this for a living. I come from this place. I live in this area." And now we all sort of gauge each other, like, "Oh, we on the same page here?" Then I say,
yeah,
"I don't have
yeah,
kids," and you look at me like maybe I'm a bit strange. And then I say, "Well, I've got a dog that I love so much." And then everyone's
yeah.
like, "Oh no, he loves dogs. He's nice."
He's
And we're
okay.
all trying, yeah, exactly. Like he's not a creep. And then we're all trying to like gauge each other.
Mm,
But it's a terrible way to gauge each other. Like the truth
it
is, just
is.
because I'm married and have a dog doesn't mean I'm a nice husband or I'm kind to my dog. It doesn't mean that at all. But we just assume these things.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of hoping to strip all that away and
Mm,
see what's left behind and see
mhm,
what sort of
mhm.
I'm looking for common humanity in the book. And
I love that.
I think I
It's
found
so
it.
interesting because we spoke earlier about our heritage, right? And being from South Africa, you in our sort of small community of foreigners who obviously like our great grandparents and ancestors settled here like centuries ago, but there definitely is like a sense of loss of identity because we don't know where we came from. And we sort of randomly here in Africa, we were just born here, and everyone's like, "Hey, so what?" So like the only markers of identity is what do you do,
Yeah.
and not like not it's a struggle to see the other person as part of your tribe, right? Because you don't know where
Yeah.
everybody's from, or like it's sort of like a weird, almost like
Yeah. There's a
epigenetic
disconnect.
imprint. Yeah,
Mm.
there's definitely a
Yeah. Nice
disconnect.
word.
And there's a
Yeah.
sense of like everybody looking for the routine of community. And it's interesting that, I said, like, you really look Jewish. And I recognize that because my great grandparents on both sides are Jewish. And then I had this sort of sense over the past few weeks, it would be so nice to have that community where you just know like where you
Mm.
belong,
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel like this graveyard of like ghosts,
But I agree with you. But I think what's
Mm,
nice about, at least in the book, and actually
mm,
this year for me too, is that before this year, I was writing. Like I told you, I thought I was the only writer in Durban. Obviously wrong, but I thought I was. And then I
yeah,
had no community of, literary community. And this year, from the book coming out, I honestly have met the most lovely people this whole year. I've met other
so
writers,
cool.
booksellers,
Mm,
um, just people like, I mean, I met you a long time ago, but like other
hmm.
interviewers and things, just really nice, encouraging people. And I
Yeah,
feel all of a sudden like I belong to this community of writers,
so
which
nice.
is brand new for me and kind of strange, but I really like
Yeah,
it. And
yeah,
these communities that we're looking for, yeah, maybe our traditional communities are are not available sometimes, but like
Yeah.
there's always these other little pockets of humanity that we can stumble into,
Yeah.
um, which are quite wonderful, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I feel the same way. Like since actually having moved to a little town called, well, Musenberg, but it's definitely a tiny
Yeah.
little town, and everybody knows each other here. But that's the
Okay.
joy of it because like there's always somebody who's um, got something to do on a Saturday, and like you can amble around and go
Yeah.
and speak to the little lady at the bookstore, and
Yeah. Which is where you got my book, right?
I actually know I got your book on Take a Lot.
Okay.
So for anybody who wants to know where to get it, well, I mean, obviously you can get it at Wordsworth and Exclusives and
Yeah. Uh,
Take a Lot or Amazon.
yeah, take a lot. Amazon, Loot, Book
Yeah,
Lounge, Liberty Books, all bookstores have got it, yeah. And there's some really
nice.
cool ones out there too. Go support your local bookstore.
Awesome. That's so cool. Okay, so the graveyard. The big one I think was the dyslexic Mateos
Yeah,
and the way he sort of misinterprets, well, the way he mixes up the letters with the word. He just calls his dog, and then by accident, like when he gets the name tag printed,
yeah,
it's God because he's dyslexic, and obviously that's
yeah,
like any dog pet owner will be like, this dog is at some point must be an extension of God at least. It's
yeah.
just like some kind of angel sent from heaven of like just
Well,
purity and
no,
genuineness.
I mean, also grumpy and bites people, but yeah, like,
Well, I laughed about that as well, the fact that he
yeah,
bites Novo. But I just sort of saw that as like, that's just a hilarious thing that I feel
yeah.
like that's kind
So,
of the way you interact with your dog.
yeah, and I mean,
Or,
to be honest, yes, I love my dog so much, and
mm,
I love dogs in general. So all my books have got a dog of some sort in them. But
I love that.
um, I actually stumbled across that whole. It was a silly joke to me at first. You know, I'm entertaining myself as much as anything while I'm writing. And when I first wrote that Matez was dyslexic and he's named his dog God, it was
Mhm.
just I kind of like sat there at my keyboard chuckling to myself. And then I
Yeah.
sort of sat back. You know, when I swim a lot and I go swimming, often when I'm swimming at the pool, um,
Mm.
I'm doing links and I feel like I'm sort of a character from a Murakami novel or something, you know, just by
Oh,
myself
I
swimming.
love that. Yeah.
And that's often when my brain starts working out
Mm.
plot things. And I was
Mm.
busy. I remember clearly I was swimming away and I thought, hey, this is actually a great way to talk about God. Um, God's such a hard topic, right?
Yeah.
To like really get into. Um,
Yeah.
but having this dog sort of there, I can randomly comment on how I feel about God, how
Mm.
I'm having a crisis of faith and having
Mm.
a sort of um, I don't know, mixed feelings. Like at some point, I'm like, obviously I love dogs, and God is very much there in the book, but also hard to read, strangely distant at times, a little bit
Hmm.
aggressive at other times, and you can see there's a bit of confusion with the way Novo has to try and befriend God. Um,
Yeah.
and it was a lovely way for me to sort of talk about these really ambiguous feelings, you know?
Yeah. 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 Totally. Like trying to figure out what is God. Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
is he on my
um,
side? You know, what's
and
going on here? Yeah,
everybody's been through that. Everyone's been through this thing of like, oh, like God doesn't give a shit about me,
yeah,
and been through those moments of like, maybe she doesn't exist. I was an atheist for many years, actually.
yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast. We'll go
It
into that
is,
in
yeah,
another time.
yeah.
But I get what you mean. I really, really do. And it's sweet because in like God is like a dog. God dog is the sweetest character, but like kind of hilariously funny as well, with the biting
Yeah.
and the aggression and the sweetness. And that is
And
kind
then
of like
yeah,
life. If you think of God
and
as like the universe, a little bit
yeah,
like that. Mm.
and it's, I suppose, again, the context thing. You meet God um, later when, and is a bit grumpy and whatever. But if you go back
Yeah.
and meet God as a puppy, it's a whole different story, and we get to do that a little bit. And that was a lot
Yeah.
of fun for me writing those early scenes with the
Yeah, that
puppy.
was so sweet.
Yeah,
That was
I
so
was
sweet.
that
And
was
that's
a
like when he met
very sentimental for
Catalina.
me. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really a big part of it.
That's
Backstory is such a
cool.
lovely thing as a writer. You get to go back and explore people.
Did that
I
sort of
really enjoy it.
event come from something? Was that inspired by a real event? Like what?
With the puppy stuff, or
Yeah. Yeah.
um, well, I mean, yeah, anyone who's owned a puppy um, has all, with my little dog Zoe, I remember clearly us saying that she would never sleep on the bed, and all that kind of stuff, and she just wouldn't have it.
No.
She's she sleeps now. The second if I get up during the night to do anything, when I come back,
Yeah.
she's lying like on my pillow,
Yeah.
like every single time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking
There's
at her
like
now. She's
you actually learn. They
yeah,
actually teach you,
yeah,
especially at terriers. I have
yeah,
a Jack Russell Terrier. They teach you. You'll learn eventually. They don't learn,
yeah,
you learn.
yeah. We're being trained over time. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely 100%. Like it's incredible how they do that. They are so intelligent.
yeah.
It's
And that's
amazing.
why I mean, in the front cover of this book, I've dedicated it to Shannon, but also to Zoe, who is my
Yeah.
dog. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she
And
gets an
also
honorable mention.
you wrote a part in the book where about how they actually heal you. There's a don't know which part of that book the book is it, but I can't remember which page, but about how they have the power to heal you, right? Like they sort of
Yeah,
prime you first and then they heal you. Like first they have
it's
to break down the bullshit. Like that's all like floating around your
yeah.
character. And they're like, no, listen, you're gonna do this and that and that. And then you were just gonna be like cool and awesome together. And that's what I'm here to do. Have
Well, I mean,
fun.
dogs are. It's like it's not just dogs, I suppose. It's love. It's the stability
Love.
of love. Like if you've ever
Mm.
been loved in a constant
Stability.
way, and which for a lot of my childhood I didn't have,
Yeah.
and that's probably why the themes of abandonment and stuff are like that in the book. But what I'm also
Hectic.
showing is you get
Yeah.
to a point of a stable sort of form of love, whether it's with a dog or anything.
Yeah.
It's a lovely platform to sort out your bullshit. You know?
Exactly. I wanted to just read a
Yeah.
quick excerpt from page 47 just to round off that part about Durban. Maybe people will get a little bit about like what Durban, the frustrating parts of Durban are like. This is just the start of the chapter, the fully automated Central Municipal Center for Complaints and Grievances. This
Oh,
is
she's
hilarious.
like, yeah.
Okay, so hello, my name is Novo. Uh, and then she gets, you have reached the Central Municipality Communication Center. Press 1 for finance. Press 2 for complaints. Press 3 for job opportunities. Press 4 if you simply wish to express your gratitude.
Never
You
done.
have reached
Yeah.
you have reached the fully automated central, and it repeats again. Fully automated central municipal center for complaints and grievances. Please select a number between 1 and 10, 1 being an annoyance and 10 being an apocalyptic problem, so that we can gauge how best to direct your call. You have selected 7. Please press 7 again if you are sure your problem is that bad. Alternatively, please select a lower number. Since you have stuck with 7, you will be directed to the fully automated Central Municipal Center for Complaints and Grievances, Catastrophic Case Department. And then, welcome to the fully automated Central Municipal Center for Complaints and Grievances, Catastrophic Case Department. Please hold.
It's
Um,
basically if you've ever tried to phone SARS, or it's actually SARS is pretty good, but if you ever try to phone the
yeah,
municipality and get bounced around, and call
yeah.
centers are just, yeah, death.
So funny. It's so true. The frustration is real. But okay, so let's go on to the Augustine section. Augustine is this wonderful character who's actually kind of really it goes between Mateus and like you almost feel like so Mateus is narrating Augustine he's narrating the whole book, right? And
Pieces, yeah.
or
So there's pieces of
pieces
the
of
book,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And he goes into talking about Augustine. It's just the most amazing chapter. It's called the Sainthood and Flowers. It starts there, and then my favorite chapter is Hagiographic Supply and Demand, which is the following chapter. So from page
I
73 to
really love
page 80.
naming chapters. It's probably one of the things I enjoy the most is just putting on random, extremely like silly or random names for chapters. It's like a lot of fun doing, you know.
Yeah.
I imagine
Yeah,
that's
I
what it's
just
like having
love.
best part of having a child must be naming it, right? Like
Oh
you
my
just get to
gosh, yes.
choose a
That's so
name.
funny.
I love naming characters. I love naming chapters. It's all a lot of fun, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Especially in a book
Well, I
about
mean, I
names.
wouldn't know.
Yeah,
But that's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that is
Or
so
naming
amazing.
dogs, you know.
Yeah.
What's your dog's
I
name
want
again?
her name's Kukla. It's a
Kukla,
Greek
that was it.
name. And it means little girl. When I tell
There
her
we
people what her name is, people are like, "What?"
go.
Every time they don't know what I'm saying, or they say something different, like poopla or
Yeah,
something. And like we end up like laughing about it. But it's also hilarious because when I tell people my name, I'm like Victoria, and they're like, "Oh, Pretoria," and I'm like, "Oh, fuck
uh,
no! Why would I
you
ever
should
be
try.
called that?"
Yeah, I mean, as
So
Sven, I get
irritating.
called many things as well. Um, I used nowadays I'll answer to anything honestly. Yeah, and I tell most people
Yeah.
I just say
What
it's
else do
seven.
they call you?
When I was a kid, I won a pen, a competition, and I won a pen. And my
Yeah.
brother won it as well. My brother's name's Eric. They
Yeah.
printed his pen had Eric on the side, and then
Yeah.
my pen had Swan written on the side.
Seriously.
Swan, come on,
I
man.
mean, seriously, but you don't think they thought like maybe this is not exactly, maybe that's not his name, like, or they
Yeah,
didn't think for a minute, maybe my name's not Pretoria, like maybe that's not, no,
I mean,
but so awkward.
pretty cool name, right, Victoria?
Victoria is a cool
No,
name. I don't know about
uh,
Pretoria. Fucking ridiculous. It's weird. But anyway, so I wanted to just read this amazing. I don't know if I should read the whole page, but
just been a piece, yeah.
I'll just do a short piece about Augustine. Okay, so as a saint, he was just as poor, only now he was also an object of great superstition, treated in equal parts as an amusement and a holy relic. Once a young girl bought a flower and then presented it back to Augustine. The simple act of kindness affected Augustine deeply, and from that day onward, the arum had always been his favorite. While to others it represents the annunciation of Archangel Gabriel to Mary, to Augustine it's the other way around. And in his lowest moments, he would placate his empty belly by holding the stem of the arum and imagining Mary surprising the Archangel, presenting him with a simple flower. When things got really bad and Augustine was close to starvation, he would open his mouth reluctantly and eat the lilies. As soon as he masticated the first petal, the vision of Mary would vanish and he would be alone again, profoundly alone as he had always been, seated on some Vivano street corner with tears in his eyes and a beautiful white flower in his mouth.
Hmm.
Wow, that was so amazing. I was reading this, I had to put the book down and be like, oh my gosh, I'm reading the work of a genius. Like, this is so good. Um,
I don't
so
know how to take this. Yeah. I'm
you know
glad you like
why?
it. You know what's interesting to me is that not everyone picks out different pieces. Like
Mm,
that's the first time someone's read that piece or asked for that
mm,
piece in an interview or something, which is quite nice. Like everybody's
yeah.
found the different parts of the book, you know?
That they really like. I liked it
Mhm.
because it's like almost like you you can't eat like beautiful flowers. You can't eat beautiful flowers actually, and as similarly you can't eat beautiful clothes. You can't eat um, you know
Yeah,
you can't eat oil, and that's what I think is sort of symbolic about it, because it's this beautiful thing and he has to eat it and he's crying and it's so sad, and that loneliness of being
yeah,
so sad, it just really really got to me, that like in a way
mm,
that part of yourself that you kind of covered up, that can't actually feel that sad anymore because you might fall apart, and you actually read this part, and for me I was like, wow, that's deeply empathetic, and um uh, it's really good to at least make people feel in touch with that empathy. Yeah, I like it.
yeah. I'm glad. I'm really glad that character. I think I didn't know it at the time, but that character sort of had a lot of me in it.
Oh,
And I think that's why it's so heartfelt. Really, is like I had a lot of, I mean, not that I'm have superpowers that can see flowers around people or anything, but it's almost that's in a magical realism exaggeration, right? Like
Mm.
I think when you grow up a little bit in danger or a little bit on the outs, you watch people very closely, and I think you're able to tell a lot about a person from their body language and that because you need to figure them out, just know if you're
Yeah,
safe or if you can trust them. And I think that's Augustine's. That's what's happening there. You
absolutely.
know, this kid that's grown up rough is
Mm.
able to watch people and sort of figure out what's going on. But um, we also know that
Yeah.
watching him, we can see he's got like he's special, but
Mm.
to him, he's not. To him, he's just sitting alone on a street corner. And I think
Mm.
that's again that context thing with that's so beautiful about writing. Like in real life, there isn't some. Well, we don't know, but there probably isn't some omniscient narrator looking down at you in your tough moments and almost romanticizing them.
Mhm.
But in the book world, there's us. We're watching and we're
Mhm.
rooting for you. You know, and
Yeah,
how nice would it be if we knew that people were watching us and rooting for us when we were on the street corner alone? You know?
absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And like I love that. That's wonderful. It brings back a sense of humanity and community to what people normally ignore. Um,
mm,
I mean, yeah, it's that's beautiful, and also the fact that he is special. The ability to see flowers growing out of a person, you know, what kind of flower they are kind of relates to their character. I thought that was
yeah.
absolutely amazing. I started thinking actually, what kind of flower relates
Oh
to my
yeah,
character? I have no idea. I think it would, no, I don't know. I don't know, but that was really cool. That
yeah.
was really,
I
really
mean,
cool.
and another
Yeah.
confession is that you know, I know very little about flowers, so I had to do a lot of research. But mostly, my wife is a fantastic gardener. She enjoys it, and like I ran all of that past her. I was like, I would write a certain
Wow.
flower down, and she'd look at me and she'd be like, "No, not that one," you know. And I'd have to like pick other ones and then go
Wow.
research what they mean and all that kind of stuff.
That's brilliant. That's so
Mm,
amazing. It's amazing. And with the shadow growing the black dahlias was like, geez,
yeah.
it was so well described. The description was so brilliant. You know, that part where he's the shadow is chasing Augustine like through the night
Mm, I
with all
like
the
that
black
part.
dahlias like trailing behind it. It
Yeah,
was so brilliant. Like, oh my gosh. Like you really got the sense that he was just running on empty and there was just nothing but
yeah,
like sheer willpower driving him, and he's
yeah,
running so fast because he's so terrified of this shadow. I
yeah,
mean, I guess the shadow really is like our demons, right? And I guess the
yeah.
exercising of the shadow is what he has to face like in his journey.
And then, I mean, it is that, and it's also a very real villain, I suppose, in the book.
Yeah,
But
also very real.
but it's yeah, and um, it's again not a true villain though. Like I liked it's something without context. Is that we're talking? We've
Mm,
said it many times now. Like um, without context, without names and friends and everything, we become quite destructive, I think.
oh my
Um,
gosh, yeah.
and I think I mean we've all been that person or known that person at some point in
Mm,
our lives where they don't know who they are and they don't know what they're
mm,
doing and they
mhm,
break everything around them, you know, almost
mhm,
on purpose.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and hopefully you grow out of that. I mean, I did. I took me a long time, but I grew out of being that guy.
mhm,
Um, and but I remember it well. I remember being hurt and lost, and I would lash
mhm.
out at things that seem silly to
Wow.
me now. But that's kind of that shadow, I think.
Yeah, tell me more about like that. What would you do? What are the kind of things that you would do?
I don't know. You know what it's like. It's I remember being in early relationships when I was like 20, and I would be like just cutting with my words. I'd be quick to feel rejected or hurt just because I was used to that kind of stuff. So um,
Wow.
I would use my word. I'm good with words, right? So
Yeah.
that was my weapon, and I would aim to hurt. You know, which um, once again, once I got a stable platform like a dog that loves me, a wife that loves me, family that loves me. Like as I've grown up and had
Mm.
stable love in my life, I sort of was able to sort all that stuff out and
Mm.
look at it for
Jeez, I
what it
relate
is
to
and
that
figure it
so
out.
much.
Yeah,
Do you ever sometimes look back on like the things you said and you're like, I can't believe that was me or that wasn't you,
yeah.
but
Well, yeah, it's just
you
me.
were
Yeah, I'm
just,
taking responsibility for
it
it.
was you.
Yeah.
But who you are, I mean, who you really are, like,
Mm,
I mean, I understand the taking responsibility, but it's just that was as a result of things that had happened to you. But
yeah.
also, I get what you're saying. Like, you have to take responsibility and stop being like that. But it definitely is like,
You need help though. You can't just do
you
it by
need
yourself.
help.
You know?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
people can't sort of kick you into being a nice person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh
You
no,
need to be
not like
loved, and you need to be loved
you need
into
to
it. It's
you
a
need to be loved into it. You can't be
yeah.
humiliated into being a good human being. Yeah, I know that's
Mm.
anyway. Yeah, that's a whole other topic for another time. But yeah, let's continue with um, let's see. Um, and so, what did the like? I suppose we've already spoken a lot about the meaning of the book and what it meant to you. And what I'm interested in now is like, who were your influences? Who are your favorite authors, and how did they influence your life and everything?
How long do you have for that one?
Let's go with just one at
Yeah.
this point.
I mean, impossible, right, to pick one
Yeah, you
influence.
can't. It's impossible to pick
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I know.
So
But
you mentioned Garcia Marquez. He was
yeah.
one of my early sort of forays into magical realism.
Hmm.
Louis de Menezes as well, Captain Corelli's Mandolin, and The Senior
Hmm.
Viva and the Coca Lord were very important books to me. But
Hmm.
in this book particularly, I've sort of stuck with Roberto Bolaño, um,
Hmm.
which is a tricky choice because it originally I had Novo sleeping on a different book. I had her sleeping on an old Russian book of some sort, but like
Hmm.
Bolaño was perfect. I think the book's built around the scaffolding of Bob Dylan's "Hard Rains Are Gonna Fall,"
Yeah.
and Bob's kind of like a very legendary figure, very storied.
Hmm.
There's lots of rumors about him, and we don't, he's shrouded in a lot of mystery. And I think
Yeah.
Bolaño is exactly the same. I mean, Roberto
Yeah.
Bolaño, there's so many stories about him. He died early. They're still releasing books to this day, even though he
Hmm.
died 20 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
So, so he was a great. The Savage Detectives is a very difficult book. It's a very troublesome and difficult book, but
Yeah.
it is shrouded in so much mystery that it was quite a big inspiration to me,
Oh,
not in
cool.
style, but in story,
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
I don't know. I
definitely.
mean, there's so many good um,
Yeah, that's definitely
magical
something
realism
I've got to
authors.
read that. Yeah, they really are. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
magical realism books that I haven't read yet, but that I
Hmm.
have like some idea from the books that I have read. But like, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
such a wonderful genre, and it is life changing. I feel like there were scenes in 100 Years of Solitude that stick with me forever. I will never forget those scenes. Like
Yeah. I
the
mean, just
the
the opening
butterfly.
sentence, right?
Yeah,
What's
well,
the
it's something
butterfly?
about
Yes.
Macondo, right? It was about
The
Macondo.
opening
The
sentence is where it something about as he kneels to face the firing squad, he remembers the time that the gypsies brought us to the town of Macondo, something like that. You know?
Yes, I remember
Yeah.
that so well as you say it. That's so brilliant. That you fact
It's
that you
such a good
remember that
opening line.
opening line. It's
Yeah.
that is what makes it so brilliant. God,
Yeah.
that book is incredible. I'll never forget the scorpions in the bathtub around his feet, her feet.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll never
That's a
forget the
fantastic book.
butterflies.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The butterflies following him around because of the smell of paint. They were attracted to the smell of paint. So he was walking around
Okay.
with like swarms of butterflies following him everywhere.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
never forget that. We'll never forget the ship standing in the middle of a field and nobody
Yes.
knows how it got there.
Yeah. Which is all,
Stunning,
yeah.
stunning.
It's very beautiful stuff. Yeah. But also
Yeah.
quite a difficult book, right? Like it's
Yeah.
everyone's got the same
Sad.
name. It's hard to follow.
Yeah.
It's tricky. There's a barrier to entry there to read that book, but it is a good book.
I always don't remember that part because I read it like 20 years ago. So there's some parts
Yeah.
that I actually can't remember. I have no memory of it. I just remember
Yeah.
those absolutely standout parts that were like, oh wow, that's why this book is
Yeah.
such a big deal. um, And yeah, so I like the way the book ends as well. I suppose there's, we're limited on time, but let's just I'm just sort of skipping to the ending that it seems like there's going to be another one, and I'm really looking forward
Well,
to reading that.
yeah, I can actually tell you, I haven't announced it yet, but Penguin have bought a second book in vivo. So I'm busy editing it at the moment. I
Excellent.
got up before I chatted to you. I got up at 5 this morning and started editing because it's before I
Wow,
start work, and
that's so
um,
exciting.
it's a second book in it takes place in the town of Vivo as well.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
a completely new cast of characters. So
yeah.
this one takes place at the university. And it's more of a coming of age story. There's a new
Wow,
literary monster, and
cool.
the new whole set of seconds. It's I really like the second one, and I'm dying to show everyone next year. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I can't wait for that to come out. That is so cool. That is
yeah, I'm
amazing.
excited. Yeah,
Yeah. And so I guess the last two questions that I have are just some funny questions that I always throw in at the end.
okay, let's have it.
So would you would you rather start every sentence with all this happened more or less, or so it goes tattooed on your wrist? I really like so it goes.
I mean, so it goes. It's so iconically classic, right? That's like could want to get to the T.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would love to get that tattooed on my wrist.
yeah, I would do
Jeez,
it.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, at this point, I've got so many tattoos that you wouldn't even notice it there. So that's the easy one. Get the tattoo.
Yeah, I get the tattoo.
Yeah.
um, I haven't read Ulysses,
Mm.
but would you rather read Ulysses or listen to a double English philosophy major you're out on a first date with explain the novel's theme and plot?
If I was out on a first date now, I'd be in a lot of trouble because I'm married. So
Sorry,
I think,
sorry,
yeah,
not. I didn't mean
yeah,
that. Like, but it's
I,
hypothetical. Hypothetical.
I got you. Okay, so hypothetical me on a hypothetical date. To be honest, do you know what? Hypothetical me would be nice to be on a date, right? Sounds fun. But I've always meant to read Ulysses, and I think
Yeah,
maybe I should just read it, you know?
I know. That's exactly why I chose the question, because it's such a
Mm,
major, humongous epic that it's
yeah,
so foundational in so many stories that
yeah.
it should be read by any writer. And I haven't read it. I haven't gotten
And
around to it, but
I
it's one of
mean,
those.
it's going to be so hard. I read a short Joyce book, and it was difficult in itself. So I mean, a
Yeah,
long James
very
Joyce must
difficult.
be very difficult, yeah. But let's
Mm,
do it.
but
I don't know what are
yeah,
the other books like that have such a legendary
legendary books.
but
On the
terrifying.
on
You
the
know what I mean? Like
road. Oh no,
no,
on
but
the
that's
road's
not
not terrifying.
it's not
Yeah,
terrifying. Like it's more
like a
like
terrifying
Infinite Jest or something.
would be
I do. It's Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon, and that one's also terrifying. Um,
uh
Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace is one of those ones
yeah.
that there's like support communities for you when you read it.
Holy crap! Really?
Yeah, I did it through that. I read it. There's like a whole online community that will help you read it, because it's
Jeez.
tricky, Yeah,
Well, I
I
can't think of
bet you
any
it exists
actually
for your
right
listeners.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
But I'm definitely going to read Ulysses and at some point when I have the time.
let,
Oh my gosh.
let's find a community of people to read it with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Then it'll be easier.
No, one day when I'm like super wealthy and like every day's a holiday and I can just lie on the
Okay.
beach and read
Yeah, yeah,
stuff, then I will
yeah.
definitely. For now, I think I'll just. But anyway,
Uh,
okay. So let's. Thank you so much for being on the show. This
yeah,
is
thanks,
just
Tori.
such a joy to talk to you, and your book is
Thank you.
amazing. And for anybody like wanting to read a book on magic in the magic realism genre, you must read this book. And also like and comment and share. And if you comment on the video, you can win a free copy, a signed copy, and send me an
Yeah,
email with your details, and we'll send you a signed copy of the book.
awesome.
And well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much. Thanks, wonderful
Yeah,
book. Thank you so much.
thanks, Tori.
Yay!
Nice to chat. And I mean,
Yeah,
also
nice to
sorry
chat.
that the people that do end up reading it, hit me up please on Instagram or email my website or whatever, because I actually really enjoy hearing back from people, hearing what they liked about it, and it's been.
Yeah,
I never imagined this part of being published where I'd actually like. I'm quite an introvert, so I never dreamed about chatting to people about my book, but
Yeah.
I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy hearing everyone's opinions, and um,
Yeah.
it's made, like I said, it's
Miracles
made me
happen.
feel a part of something. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's so cool. And yeah, please,
Yeah,
everybody that's listening, I'd really appreciate it if you commented on the video. That helps the channel a lot. This channel is just starting out now, and yeah,
yeah,
I'm keen to start a little community of people, and probably will start a group of people who are interested in the same things. Like, as you can see, I'm really interested in learning new things and like different subjects, and I'm quite like multifaceted in that sense. So whoever's watching, I hope you enjoy the videos. I'm really making. I hope you're inspired to look for new and fascinating things in life, and I think that's what
yeah.
life's about anyway. So
I was wondering what it was
okay,
about. That's perfect.
yeah. Well, if
Um,
you're wondering what it's about, it's because I really feel like life's an exploration and a journey, and there are things that are so interesting and that people don't know, and that people should know, and that it should be a kind of exploration, and it should be fun. I think that's how it should be, rather than for your entire life just sort of putting your like blinkers on and carrying down one road and never like looking left or right and being like, why do I feel so shitty? Probably because you're not living life. So that's why this channel is the way it is, because I'm doing what I really want to do, and that's it.
good. I like it, Tori.
Thanks so much, Sven. Have
Okay.
a wonderful week, and see you guys soon. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Bye.